Cue that beat.
This is what happens. You guys just hear something Eagles, and then it's like a dog. He sees a squirrel.
I would say 75% of all NFL quarterbacks can be dialed down to different flavors of Kirk Cousins. They're all just Kirk Cousins. All of them.
So there's conditions. No, I absolutely understand do not draft list. If someone's on my do not draft list, I'm not drafting him.
What's up, guys? Welcome into the Mind of the Gap podcast. Aaron Palsgrove, Tyler Hill, Ryan Wright. It is Thursday, February 13th. Yeah. So tomorrow is the Eagles Super Bowl parade, which is absolutely crazy. I will be there. Ryan will not because he's all the way in Texas like a bum.
Big sad.
Yeah, no, it's okay, bud. I'll take pictures and send you for FOMO. Today's show, we are doing because the season's finally over, a 2024 NFL Draft redraft. I'm so excited. If you don't know what the redraft is, we're going to go 1 through 33 so we can get the Bills involved. And so, because there's 3 of us, 11 picks each. It works. Trust me. And we are going to go, who would we take, knowing what we know about this first season. Well, you're not taking them as if they'd already played a season. You're taking them as if you could see this season as a sim and then go back and be like, okay, I know what they're capable of. Let's draft them now. Kind of, yeah. The draft order is the same as it ended on draft night. No trades for us because we are not GMs. We're just doing a redraft. Is there any more rules I got to hit before we can get started, boys?
No rules. I think just for me, there's 2 points. This rookie class was just really good. And I think in the moment,
it's crazy.
Yeah, in the moment when we were with all the quarterbacks, it's like, okay, there's 6 quarterbacks that are drafted in the first round. There's these 4 top receivers that are amazing, but we even had Pearsall and Leggett on the back end, edge guys, tackles. Like, in the moment, we thought it was good, but man, did a lot of these guys prove it and say, hey, even in my first year, when most rookies guys are not good players in their first year.
You didn't even mention
these guys
corners.
Are real good.
Yeah, you didn't even mention corners.
Exactly.
Cooper DeJean and Quinyon Mitchell, who both were Defensive Player of the Year candidate and both played in the Super Bowl. So how this is going to go is we're just going to say the Bears, who they originally picked. Or we're going to say the team, who they originally picked, and then who we would pick in a redraft. Explain it, fight about it, keep it trucking. We got 33 picks to get to. Let's go. We did a little spinner thing off air to decide who goes first. I won, so I get to have pick 1, and that is the Chicago Bears. They originally took Caleb Williams. I'm going to take a quarterback. I'm just going to take Jaden Daniels. I feel like this is the most simple pick of the entire class. Yeah. Like the next 3 are going to be quarterback, because it was quarterback to start. And Daniels had the best career rookie season of any rookie in the history of forever.
Jaden Daniels was so impressive this year. And this is coming from a guy who did not have him super high. I had him as a first round player, but didn't necessarily love that he was going with the number 2 pick overall, but proved me wrong, did it with an offense that fit him really, really well, maximized his strengths, and he showed that he is elite in those strengths like mobility, deep ball accuracy, and just general creativeness. He's so fun to watch, and we talked about it before, but as long as he's able to stay healthy, I just cannot wait to see his career move on and on and on, and we get 12 years in, and hopefully Jaden Daniels is still on top of the league.
Yeah, sky's the limit for Daniels. I took a stab on him in fantasy, and that's my claim to fame right now because I took him at the end of the second round in Dynasty. So I have Lamar Jackson, QB1, Jaden Daniels, QB2. So I'm sitting very pretty. But again, Jaden Daniels, he could do anything in that offense. And it's going to be really interesting to see what they do in this year's draft to pair up with him. I mean, we could start talking tight ends and wide receivers, but I think Washington does have some other needs on defense. So.
Right, and you're talking about pair up. I mean, the Bears have 1. They also have 9. So whoever we take at 9 is going to be paired with Jaden Daniels, which I think is going to be a lot of fun. Who has that pick? That would be, I think, Ryan. You have 9?
Because he's on the multiples of 3.
Yeah. So, Ryan, you have the Bears at 9. It was originally a Dunze. That'll be fun when we get to it. Tyler, you're on the board with the Washington Commanders, who originally took Jaden Daniels.
And like you said, I'm going to take a quarterback here as well. This is where I'm going to go with Drake May, quarterback out of UNC. He was number 2 overall for me on my big board, the final big board going into the first round last year. And I think he showed it, right? He didn't get to play to start the year behind Brissett, had some injuries at times, but when he played, you could tell there was just something different. The team rallied around him, the way that he was mobile in the pocket with the worst offensive line in the NFL, and it's not really close, was great. The arm talents they were pushing the ball down the field with probably also the worst skill position group in the NFL. I could not be more excited about Drake May.
Do not besmirch Demario Douglas, Liberty alum.
Yeah. It's great when he's your kind of wide receiver one.
Dude, you kind of left me in a really tough position for New England because I was going to take Drake May. I might have to phone a friend here because Caleb Williams and JJ McCarthy and Bo Nix are in a very similar playing field for pick 3. And it's kind of who fits better in the offense. Now, is this given Vrabel as head coach, or is this still
No, this is Time Machine. This
Right.
is 2024.
okay? I think someone that's gonna actually be able to stand in there and get the job done in New England would be Bo Nix.
Oh, I don't know.
That's crazy.
Man.
That's crazy.
Well, the right answer would be
Caleb.
Drake May.
No, the right
But-
answer is Caleb.
I was gonna say it should be.
I don't know. But Caleb showed us plenty. Don't get me wrong. Caleb showed us plenty that he can do in year 1. But dang, I still want to see more. And
You thought Bo Nix showed you more than Caleb Williams?
Bo Nix has a higher floor, lower ceiling, but Caleb Williams is still down here. I really need to see Caleb Williams step up his game. I mean, theoretically, with the Chicago Bears in the real world, because we're not playing fantasy, I really need to see him step up his game with Ben Johnson. And if we don't see that, we're going to have some real talks about Caleb Williams this upcoming year.
I hear you. I think that the fact that you're taking Bo Nix over Caleb Williams is kind of crazy. I don't understand it. I would take Caleb Williams 9 times out of 10. And now he's going to fall to 6 at the Giants, and you're going to have a chance to take him again.
Franchise quarterback, am I right?
I guess you are. I have the Cardinals at 4. So they took Marvin Harrison Jr. here with this pick. And I think the easy redraft thing to do is take Malik Neighbors, take someone who looked like a better receiver in year 1, and say, great, you have a better receiver to replace Marv, who underperformed. He's going to be more fantasy viable. He's going to be better on this team. He fits what you do more. That said, I'm not doing that because that's boring. I'm taking Jared Verse, edge rusher out of FSU, who went to the Rams. Originally, I think it was pick. Where did he go? He went to pick 19 with the Rams. Yeah. I'm taking Jared Verse because if you look at the way this Cardinals team played, basically Marv became irrelevant because he wasn't necessary. They didn't use him the way that people expected them to. He became like the 3rd or 4th wide receiver on this team. McBride was the one. And so I'm not going to draft a receiver that has the risk of falling into that position again and being undervalued. I'd rather take one of the best rookie edge rushers we've seen in a long time and put him on this bad Cardinals front.
The defense is bad for the Cardinals, and they tried to address it in the actual 2024 draft, taking Darius Robinson. So they definitely need D-line. We saw that in their own draft. So do not hate the Verse pick here. Most pressures in the NFL. If you could drop that on the Cardinals defensive line right now, they would take that in a heartbeat. And like you said, I think they can make do with the weapons they have and be okay on offense and stay afloat. They just need defensive talent so bad.
Yeah.
And they could use some offensive linemen too. But guys, the Cardinals are only a few guys away from contending.
Especially
it's not a bad team.
And in the division where I feel like everything's up in the air every year, I think they could really make a push for it with 1 or 2 good players. Good additions, that is.
Yeah, if they can win the offseason, that's a sleeper team for sure. And if Kyler can rein it in a little bit.
That's fair.
Just a tad.
Now he is Jared Verse instead of Marvin Harrison Jr.
There you go. So I'm up here for the Los Angeles Chargers. I'm going to do the exact same thing that they did in their draft, Joe Alt. We talked about or I talked off the top about most rookies are not good players to start, even first round picks, because the adjustment is just so huge. And nowhere do you feel that more than at tackle. Usually, guys, even good tackles that become all pro level tackles, are just not that good as rookies. Alt is the exception. He was phenomenal. He did not look like he was drowning at all or out of his depth. Translated everything that he had in terms of his frame, his athleticism, his technique. It was all there. And do the Chargers need to address some needs at weapon and interior offensive line? Yes. But starting with the cornerstone of Rashawn Slater and Joe Alt, cannot fault them at all. They're in a good spot. So I'm going to do that for them again here.
Yeah, it's the first pick that we agree on in the redraft, which shout out the Chargers for doing the simple thing and picking the correct player. I mean, sometimes you just got to take your beans and rice and beans, and just take the protein. And you might be bland chicken, but you know what? It's Joe Alt, and that's Control Alt Delete right there.
All right, boys. New York Giants. Yeah, I'm going to get flamed if I don't pick Caleb Williams. Caleb Williams.
Thank
to
you.
the New York Giants. I mean, we could go on and on and on about how bad the New York Giants office is right now. I mean, you let Saquon leave, you pay Danny Dimes, and you bring in Drew Lock as your competition. Oh, the bar is low. I don't know if Caleb Williams would revitalize the Giants as it is today, but it gives you the best chance to do so. So, Caleb Williams to the Giants.
Yeah, man, they'd be overjoyed. Like, the fact that he fell to 6 in this redraft is crazy. But I mean, if you're looking at teams like the Cardinals, they have a franchise guy. If you're looking at the Chargers, they have a franchise guy. And the first 3 took quarterbacks. I think the third team took the incorrect quarterback in Bo Nix. But you know what? Bo Nix would be here at 6 and available too. So the question I'm really having is, are we really going to see 6 quarterbacks go in the top however many? Because I'm taking a quarterback here at 7. And it's the Tennessee Titans, because if you're the Titans and you look back at this season, you say, okay, great. This is our one season of letting Will Levis be Will Levis. They brought in J.C. Latham as their original first-round pick in this position. It's not that he was a bad player. I think Latham had a good rookie season, but Levis was a disaster. I mean, surrender Cobra every other game. Art But Make It Sports had a whole series on Will Levis crying on the field. It was hilarious. So you have to take a quarterback. The question is, which one? So now you have McCarthy or Penix. J.J. McCarthy out of Michigan, Michael Penix out of Washington. Dude, that's not an easy selection. But I don't think the Titans are great. Go ahead.
I was going to say, if Verse was here, I think you could make an argument for Verse going to the Titans because of the lack of edge help Jeffrey Simmons had. I mean, they did get Tavondre Sweat in the second round, which absolutely helped, but you still have lack of edge presence.
Yeah, agreed. I think Verse could go to just about any team and they'd be happy about it. Falcons at 8 could have taken Jared Verse. I had them mocked to take Jared Verse in the 24 class. Alas. The Titans, I have them taking J.J. McCarthy because I think McCarthy is less ready than Penix, but I also think that he has the higher ceiling than Michael Penix Jr., and he has less of an injury risk than him, although McCarthy did go out for the whole season with an ACL. But that's okay because the Titans have time. They're not ready to compete. They're not ready to win. They have time to let McCarthy make his mistakes, learn him with training wheels, and get himself into NFL-ready shape.
Would you hear an argument that with them not being ready, building through the trenches right now to try and support a quarterback later might be the way to go?
Sure.
Or are you just, wait in the wings?
That's how it worked this season, right? That's how they built through the trenches, gave Will Levis another shot. But my thing is, why not take a shot? We don't know what J.J. McCarthy is yet. And at this point, you're spending a first-round pick on a guy who could be your franchise cornerstone. And if it doesn't work, give Will Levis another chance. But the thing is, if we're looking back at this exercise and saying you could see how the 2024-25 season went, you can see that Will Levis is a disaster. Their entire mantra going into it is we're going to give Levis one more year. Levis sucked. His one more year is over. And so now it's time to get a new quarterback. And there's one here. I think a first-round quality quarterback is J.J. McCarthy. So I wouldn't hesitate.
All
Yeah,
right.
and we talked about it when we rate the quarterbacks in this draft versus last draft. I think most of us, I had Cam Ward at quarterback 4.5, so competing with McCarthy, and I believe you guys both had Ward behind McCarthy. Am I right about that?
Slightly.
Ryan, you as well?
I think so. I don't know off
Well,
the top of my
competing-
head.
No, that's fair. But either way, I think the Titans, even with now hindsight, like we said, time traveling, might go, we might just want to use this number 1 pick on an Abdul Carter or Travis Hunter more than we would want to do it for a Latham right now. And we'll take McCarthy, who we think is comparable to Ward.
Right. Or trade back and say, we need a receiver, we need offensive line help, and we're going to take someone better at like 7 instead of 1.
And when we get in a mock draft season for this season, I'm really going to have some fun if I'm number 1 overall because
You have fun no matter what. You just took Bo Nix over Caleb Williams.
hey, well, who cares? It's all fantasy. Anyways, guys, we should really talk about who could trade up for a quarterback because Rams, Matthew Stafford's situation is apparently going bad. Steelers could trade up. Jets could trade up. There's so many teams that could trade up out of the blue. And I really think we should like maybe rank them on kind of like an order of who's most willing to pay up.
Steelers aren't trading up. The conversation right now is, do you run it back with Fields? Because Russ isn't coming back. The bridge is burned with Russ. Do you run it back with Fields?
I know.
Or do you bring in Aaron Rodgers? That's the conversation.
Or Sam Darnold.
I think
There's plenty of bridge quarterbacks out there. But again, I'm just throwing out the idea.
right.
I mean, Mike Tomlin has only ever drafted one Super Bowl winning quarterback, and that was Kenny Pickett.
He did get Ben Roethlisberger, but that's a funny joke.
That was so out of pocket. I was waiting for you to say Ben Roethlisberger, and I was like, yeah, you're right.
All right, 2.
Shout out Kenny. Two glove. Kenny.
Kenny baby hands.
Yeah.
Oh.
So we're on the Falcons right now. Speaking of quarterbacks.
Yeah. Penix available.
Yeah. Well, and this is a spot where I considered going back and forth. But honestly, with how the Kirk Cousins year went and then seeing flashes out of Penix, I think they take Penix again.
I think so too.
Like they need a quarterback. The Cousins situation went, I think, as bad as it possibly could have. And you have a guy waiting in the wings. Now, was this a smart pick at the time? No. Is this still a smart pick in my eyes? No. But you got one now that you've seen flashes in some games at the end of the season, has rapport with Drake London, and does genuinely have a live arm. Penix has the arm strength. He has some of the processing ability, a little bit more mobility than people gave him credit for. And that's something that you can build around, and you can see yourself being in contention for a Super Bowl with Michael Penix at this point.
But I think the reason none of us liked this pick is because it felt redundant, right? It wasn't the fact that we disliked Michael Penix as a prospect. It was the fact that they had just signed Kirk Cousins to a behemoth of a contract. It was redundancy. It was a waste of your resources, not a waste of a pick on a bad player or on an injury-prone player. It was redundant. To say the word again, to be redundant, it's redundancy. That was the issue.
Yeah, because the only way that this ends up being smart is how it worked, where you wasted $100-something million contract on Kirk Cousins, or vice versa. If it was Penix not being good, you go, well, at least we got Cousins. So the only way that this worked out is if one part of it didn't work out, which is the dumb part.
Right, you're making a bet against yourself in a sense. You're hedging, and you never want to hedge when you just signed a $40 million quarterback.
Boys, I'm struggling here.
You got the Bears.
I got the Bears.
I feel like this is easy, isn't it?
I wouldn't say so because I could go wide receiver or I could go offensive line. We know for a definitive fact how bad that Bears offensive line was. But Malik Neighbors.
Can I make a case?
Right there.
Can I make a real quick case?
Is it 4 Neighbors?
It's not 4 Neighbors. I want to pull this up so I'm not incorrect. But if you think about the Bears season and you remember the key plays, the key players, who were their real pass catchers? If you they went 5-12, by the way, they did not have a good season.
I mean,
If
they
you're
had
looking,
Odunze, Keenan Allen, Cole
Mhm.
Kmet,
if you're looking,
DeAndre Swift.
if you're looking at targets, DJ Moore had 98 targets. He was the clear wide receiver 1. Keenan Allen had 70 targets, clear wide receiver 2. It's like 20 behind, 20, 30? 30 behind Moore. Rome Odunze had 54. That's a massive drop off from Keenan Allen to Rome Odunze. And then 47 to Cole Kmet. So Cole Kmet and Rome Odunze got about the same target share. If you're going to bring in a first round receiver and you want him to be a first round receiver, don't put him right next to Cole Kmet and say you're going to get the same target share. I think taking a first round receiver with what we know about how Rome Odunze was used, how well DJ Moore played, is a waste of time. It's a waste of a pick. So I think you definitely should take an offensive lineman here, especially with how much we
Perfect.
saw Caleb moving,
I'll play devil's advocate.
as you should.
You do have to think about more than 1 year. And so, while Rome Odunze, I don't
Do
think
you? You
hit his
Jaden
expectations
Daniels.
this year.
Build for a Super Bowl,
Yeah,
brother.
if you
Yeah,
have
but
Jaden
Jaden-
Daniels, you got to protect Jaden Daniels. Caleb Williams looks like a chicken with his head cut off out there. So,
Well, my
as much
comment.
as I want to listen to you, Tyler, Tylese Fuaga, second best tackle. All right,
I think that's pretty fair. He went originally to the Saints at the 14. Yeah. So
Yeah.
shout out Fuaga, making a jump in the world. The Vikings originally took J.J. McCarthy, and now they are back on the board. That's my pick. I think this is one of the more interesting ones because they took McCarthy to be their future. Now, knowing what you know, you have this pick re-available, right? It's a redraft, so the pick is back available. It's back on the board. Sam Darnold is going to be your quarterback of the future because there's no point in taking a rookie quarterback with this pick with Sam Darnold. The Vikings have a very talented defense. I don't think there's a reason for them to take an edge rusher or a corner or or anybody like that. Their offensive line was half decent. I think maybe a little bit overperforming. I think it could have used better players, but I think I don't think it's good enough to spend his first round pick on. So I have narrowed this down to 3 players, and I want y'all's opinion. Or 4 if you want to count Joe Milton as the possible next quarterback to take. But I don't think I'm not taking Joe Milton here. My 3 players are Brock Bowers, because T.J. Hockenson sat the whole year, right? And still 2 tight end sets work. Bucky Irving or Quinyon Mitchell. Who would you take of that 3? Because Aaron Jones was losing juice. He actively was losing juice, and I think the combo of Jones and Irving could be really effective.
I say Brock Bowers.
Bowers?
Because I feel like that would have been a great safety net for Sam Darnold down the stretch. As much as I love Bucky Irving, I mean, Aaron Jones got it done when he needed to. Again, I use that term serviceable a lot. I definitely would put Bowers over Irving still.
Tyler?
And
Yeah, I think Bowers is a better player than Irving. I think, though, I would go with Quinyon.
Okay.
Just because the Vikings play a really aggressive style of defense. They do play a decent amount of zone on the back end. And they have weapons. They have Addison. They have Justin Jefferson. Hawkinson did come back this year and I think looked pretty good for a guy off of a brutal knee injury. And then Jones, you did just sign him to a big contract. Is he the Aaron Jones of 3 years ago when he was the number 1 running back in fantasy? No. But he is, like Ryan said, serviceable. You can have him as your starting running back and I think be fine. I don't think it's redundant to have Brock Bowers because he's so awesome.
Right.
if you had Brock Bowers, you might have beaten the Lions.
That's pushing it a little bit. I think Darnold was the reason they didn't beat the Lions, but you're right that a safety blanket like Bowers could really help them. This feels like one of the more difficult picks, right? Because you're looking at up and down this depth chart, and it's just good player after good player after good player. I could take a left guard, maybe,
Neighbors still available.
Yeah, Neighbors is still available, which is crazy. But I don't want to take an edge rusher. This is a good this is a good edge group in Minnesota, and I have one of the best defensive coordinators in the league coaching them up. I think I'm going to take Quinyon Mitchell because that feels like a very Vikings. Well,
No, use your gut.
I don't like dealing that with my gut right now. Crud, dude.
Or you can take Tyler's number 1 guy and Lad McConkey.
No, I'm not doing that.
Lad, baby. Running a 4.39 burner.
Dude, this is a really difficult pick
Real
for
quick,
me.
while you think about it, who did the Jets take? I had to reset my draft. Who do we have them
You know
taking?
what? Who do we have them taking?
Yeah. Did you skip the Jets?
Did I skip the Jets? No, the Jets are 11.
Jets are next.
Well, Minnesota
It's
is
10.
my thing wrong.
I-
The Jets are 10. The Jets are 10 on the thing I'm looking at.
They swapped. They traded picks.
Did they? Okay. Well,
Yeah, they
shout
swapped.
out,
They swapped picks on draft night. If
shout out NFL mock draft database simulator for having that wrong.
if you were using the official NFL draft on ESPN or using our rundown, we'd be fine, Tyler.
Well, I'm trying to keep everything straight, so I'm doing it to where this hides the players we've already taken.
Fair.
To keep everything straight.
I'm going to flip it. I'm not going to take any of those 3 players. I'm going to take Chop Robinson out of Penn State.
I see the vision.
5th in defensive rookie of the year votes. He had serious juice in Miami, and Minnesota took a pass rusher in Dallas Turner later in this first round. So I'm just getting an early jump on it, taking one of the better players in this class because I don't think they need any of these players. I think it fills the need.
I would have
really
taken
well.
Braden Fisk over Chop.
What? Really?
Yes.
Fisk plays interior. The Vikings don't need interior.
So what? You're drafting at 10.
Okay. I feel like this is not a weird hill to die on.
It's not, and I'm not going to die on it. But I would absolutely take Fisk over Chop. I'm still weighing need versus the fact that you're drafting at 10. There's something wrong with your team. Now, in this scenario, they don't get JJ McCarthy, who sat out the entire year. So
Right.
yes, you have the luxury of going in blind and just picking anything. But I feel like Braden Fisk would help out a lot more than Chop. But
I also
this
think
is your
Braden
pick.
Fisk's rookie season was a product of playing next to Jared Verse and a product of playing on such a talented Rams front, right? Braden Fisk just cleaned up when he was
Byron
needed.
Young,
Yeah, exactly. I don't think he was the catalyst that fueled that fire. I'm not going to have Braden Fisk going in this first round, I don't think.
Whoa.
Maybe. Then again, one of you guys is probably going to take him, so I don't have to worry
I'm
about it.
probably going
Yeah.
to snag that up then.
So, I mean, I don't think he deserves as much credit as he's getting. And Chop was doing it alone in Miami on a bad defense. So I think he deserves more credit than he was getting. I take Chop Robinson here to the Minnesota Vikings. The Jets are on the board.
Yes, which the Jets would be me. So in this initial draft in 2024, they took Olu Fashanu, tackle out of Penn State. Now that we see what happened with this team, I'm like, sure, that's not a bad pick, but we're kind of rudderless as a franchise here. So, and he played well. He played fine. So again, not a bad pick, but I guess this is kind of what's throwing me for a loop here. Because then also the Jets defense played pretty bad the back half of this year. But I think that's probably a solid thing more than a talent thing. So I do.
Powers. I was really close to your mic, dude.
But both of their tackles are not going to play next year for the Jets. And I'm like, I got Garrett Wilson. I think I'll be okay there. Breece Hall's fine. Yeah, they liked Olu. I'm just going to take Olu. I had him lower than some of the guys in the class, but he ended up playing fine. So
Yeah, you were anti-Olu. What'd you say? He was raw?
very raw. Yeah, for sure. He, I think I had him at the high teens or something.
Yeah.
Which this was such a good tackle year. I think it ended up being high teens ended up being like tackle 5 or tackle 4 or something.
It was a crazy tackle year. It was fun to watch. Like guys like Fuaga and Fautanu and
yeah.
Fautanu, who I think officially switched to guard, didn't he? Or did Fuaga?
Well, Fautanu, I'm pretty sure got injured this year, so I don't think
Did
he
he?
played all that much.
Yeah, I think he got injured very early.
Yeah, Fautanu is listed at guard for the Steelers.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
we
which is
talked
fair.
about him flipping to guard.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, I got 4 pass catchers on the board.
This is where they start coming
obviously in
off.
this scenario, I don't have Bo Nix. So
You're
who
right.
the heck is throwing to Brock Bowers or Malik Neighbors?
I don't know. Joe Milton?
Is it Trevor Siemian?
I guess.
Oh, yikes. Yikes. All right, boys. I don't know if I could do anything else besides draft Brock Bowers. It is a truly generational tight end. I mean, the dude had one of the best rookie seasons of a tight end of all time. But only the Lord knows who's throwing to Brock Bowers. So
Maybe Brock Bowers can throw and catch to himself like Josh Allen.
he's going to have to. It's Denver.
Yeah, exactly. Man, what a weird
The balls float up there, right?
That altitude.
dude. This has just been such a strange sequence of events.
Well, we're seeing how important the trenches are, aren't we?
Yeah.
And quarterback.
That we are. So I'm going to summarize because we just hit 12. We have Jaden Daniels going to the Bears. Originally, it was Caleb Williams. And then we had the Commanders taking Drake May as his recovery. And then the Patriots took Bo Nix. Blame Ryan. Cardinals took Jared Verse. Chargers took Joe Alt again. Giants took Caleb Williams. Titans took J.J. McCarthy. Falcons took Penix again. Tyler, have you had 3 repicks? Penix, Olu, and Alt?
Yes.
Okay.
Cheater.
No, that's not cheating. It's just lazy. It's okay. And then...
Well, if you think that we should have taken somebody else there,
No.
be my
we're good.
guest.
We're good. The Bears took Fuaga instead of Roma Dunze. The Vikings took Josh Robinson instead of J.J. McCarthy because McCarthy was not on the board. And then the Jets took Olu Fashanu again. The Broncos took Brock Bowers. Now the Raiders are available. Brock Bowers is off the board. Raiders have so many needs. So many. It's actually crazy. That said, you kind of need to get butts in seats. And you know that this year they're going to take a quarterback. So I'm going to continue their pass catcher trend and just take Malik Neighbors. Neighbors is here. He's available. I'm just going to take the best player on this board and just throw him in. I think he's like top 2 overall during this redraft, and he's just fallen to 13. Malik Neighbors to the Raiders.
Dude, the Raiders are in a really weird situation, and I don't like how the roster's constructed. It's going to take some time, and Pete Carroll is going to have his hands full. I'll tell you that much.
Good luck, Pete. Another team that is going to have a lot of roster construction on their hands, the New Orleans Saints.
14.
They are at 14, so they took Tyrese Fuaga here, who is off the board. I think you just go best player available because they definitely needed a tackle for sure. I don't think anybody's going to debate that at all, but they also need pretty much every single other position as well. And so as I'm scrolling down the board, I mean, Marv would be nice for the offense, especially if Chris Olave is not going to play games.
Those OSU boys.
Yeah, but do you really want to
Right.
put Marvin in an offense where he's going to get hospitalized?
Well, and yeah, do I want to do that to Marvin Harrison Jr.?
Well, Kellen Moore thinks Derek Carr is a tremendous quarterback.
That's exactly what he's supposed to say. He just
I
got
was going
hired.
to say he wasn't going to be like, well, here's the deal, guys. Derek Carr is horrible.
You know, they
at the
played
Well,
against-
he could walk in the front door and say, I'm sorry, guys. Spencer Rattler's the better player.
You know what? If Spencer Rattler starts, that's going to really help out my fantasy team. I made a really bad trade for him out of desperation.
Potential.
That's the word we use for Jordan Love, and I still don't see it.
Whoa, Jordan Love's good, man. Hold on. Let's calm down. there.
Ryan just doesn't understand how football works.
We'll get into that later.
Not a
I
ball
think
knower.
where I'm ultimately going to go, though, is Quinyon Mitchell, corner out of Toledo.
Okay.
Again, they need it everywhere. They ended up getting rid of Marshawn Lattimore. They do need a corner replacement. And I think just overall, Quinyon is probably the best player available on the board. So hits both need and good player.
Yeah. I'm with it. I agree. I don't agree because Quinyon deserves to be in green. That's just how it's supposed to be. But I don't hate the pick. I think it's a good one.
All right. Colts are next. Oh, guys. See, I'm steering towards keeping Latu.
I like Laiatu. He's a good player.
Yeah,
Nah, dude. Marv
it
is
didn't have a
here.
great year. Don't get me wrong. It was nothing like I think he was like the favorite to win Defensive Rookie of the Year very early.
I think going in, he might have
Yeah,
been because
and
we were
definitely
expecting
did
him
not
to
live up
get
to that hype.
no, but I think he was supposed to get a lot of numbers next to DeForest Buckner, and
Yeah,
instead those numbers were produced by the Rams.
dude, pairing Joe Flacco and AR with Marv seems like a great idea, but they already have Michael Pittman, Josh Downs.
No.
feel
We
like
don't
I'm
use Pittman to say that the room is full.
Pittman's bouncing back, dude.
Stop it.
I am invested in Pittman,
Oh my
but
God.
I also think that he
Tyler,
still
what would
is
you
going to
do
bounce
here?
back. I was going to say that this might be Braden Fisk territory because their interior defensive line, they have Armstead, but uh, outside of that, or Buckner, sorry, not Armstead. Those guys are just so similar in my brain because of the body type and play style. But they have Buckner. Outside of that, man, it's pretty bleak in that interior defensive line, especially from a pass rush perspective. And so I wouldn't mind Fisk here. I think Marv here is also a good pick. Those would be the two that I would decide between.
I could also go Cooper to Gene.
That's true.
Uh,
That wouldn't be bad here.
I think pass catchers might be more of a priority.
I agree. I think I have to go Marv.
Don't hate that at all.
The Colts offense, I feel like watching them, they just get stalled. It's almost like they shoot themselves in the foot. It's so I can't even imagine how Indy fans do it. It's so hard to
Sounds
watch
miserable.
just bad football, and it doesn't really make sense to me because Shane Steichen was an amazing offensive coordinator in Philly. I don't really know what's going down there in Indy. So I hope AR pans out. It's really not looking like it will, but a full 17 game season will prove if he can or cannot do that. And if
Or if
you
he
have
doesn't
Marvin
just walk
Harrison
off the
Jr.,
field.
I know. If you have Marvin Harrison Jr., I expect you to be playing all 17 games.
Yeah, that's fair. I think that's a good pick. It's the pick I would have made, or at least one I would have heavily considered. I have the Seahawks now, and I looked into this. I am going to take Zach Frazier, the center out of West Virginia.
I'm sorry.
Attaboy.
This is not about your pick at all. I just realized we still have Graham Barton on the board.
Graham Barton is still on the board. So I'm taking Zach
Well,
Frazier.
taking him next. Sorry, I'll just throw that out there. So you go. You do yours first.
No, you're chilling. So Frazier, where's my research? There it is. He had a 76.8% PFF grade, which is just up there. I think it was number 14 out of total pass protectors. And by the way, 77.6 is what Joe Alt had. So 76.8 is Zach Frazier, less than a point behind him according to PFF grade. He was originally drafted by the Steelers, I think, in the second round, either the second or the third. And so I'm going to take Frazier here because the Seahawks, if you just look at team needs and just what do they desperately need? They need run support, they need pass protection, and they need a center. Frazier provides all these things, and I think that is – they originally took Byron Murphy, but I think that was a mistake and a bad pick, and I'm taking Frazier.
Frazier also had a 2.3% pressure rate allowed out of rookie O-lineman, and that was ranked number 1.
Yeah, he was incredible. He had a really, really good rookie season. I think under discussed rookie season. I think this is the first time we've mentioned his name on this podcast. So, yeah.
Good player, highest pass blocking efficiency of the rookies as well.
Should he have gone at 16 or should he have gone way higher?
I mean, I'm looking back. He's a center, so that dings him a little bit, but we'll get into it when we get to actual draft season. I think center and guard have flown up the positional need rank, or not positional need, but premium position rankings.
I mean, Ryan's Donovan Jackson in the top 3.
Blue chipper Donovan Jackson.
Hey,
I'm looking back.
do
Like you could have argued maybe for him instead of Olu, but I think for Jets specific, again, both of their tackles are not coming back this year. So just from a need perspective, I think it's more there.
Yeah,
so honestly, I think 16 is fair.
How dumb do the New York teams have to look at this Eagles team? Like, both the Jets and the Giants owners can sit together at the bar and just say, Saquon Barkley, Mekhi Becton, and just cry about the players that they will let walk to Philadelphia and are now Super Bowl champions. It's crazy. Crazy. I love Makai. I hope he stays. The Vikings are on the board at 17. With their first pick, they took Chop Robinson. Originally, they took Dallas Turner here, the edge rusher. I think this is Tyler's pick, yeah?
Yes. So, oh man, Rome's on the board. I really like Rome. I'm not that low on Rome anymore, but
Where do you have Rome in the receivers that we have left? Xavier Worthy, Lad McConkey, Rome Odunze. I think that's it.
BTJ is still on the board.
Yeah, oh my gosh, Brian. This is your pick. I'm not going to help.
Yeah, but the Vikings don't need a receiver.
Also true.
So I think O-line would have been good for them. You can never have enough O-linemen, and their interior struggled a bit as well. So that's got Graham Barton on my mind. I'm also thinking Cooper DeJean because, again, their DBs were just not amazing, and they play a style of defense where you got to be able to play in space with a lot of blitzes. So I wonder if Cooper would be a good fit there. I think I am going to end up taking Graham Barton, though, and try to shore up that interior offensive line. Played really good for the Bucs this year, was part of that offensive line turnaround, going from legitimately a bad offensive line last year to a top 5 unit this year.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think it's a good pick. Shout out you.
The trenches, man, it's not sexy, and this might just be the 2025 draft mantra. It's not sexy, but it wins you football games. Yep. And you need to be able to invest in your trenches, even if, again, a lot of them won't be good in year one. You just have to take your medicine.
Agreed.
All right, boys. I think his name has been waiting to be called. Cooper DeJean.
To the Rams?
Cincinnati.
Oh, Bengals. My bad. I was on the wrong pick.
I mean, I don't know off the top of my head how bad this Bengals defense was, but Tyler
it was bad.
It was bad. So what better way to get the apparently number 1 ranked corner according to PFF and probably a stud for the next 5 years opposite of
Cameron Taylor-Britt?
Yes. Dude is a dog. Cam Taylor-Britt is a dog. Love him to death. The only thing I don't know, and Aaron, you might know this more than me, would Cooper still play nickel or would he play outside?
That's something I actually wanted to get to. I heard this on a podcast. This sentence that Cooper DeJean is more valuable to the Eagles than any other team in the league because of how that was the initial thing. Now we're getting into my take. Because of how Fangio asks Cooper to play, and so heavily in the nickel, he also has him playing like kind of a strong safety-ish role. The way he gets downhill so much and relies on him as a pseudo linebacker. Zach, that's something that Fangio, because of how he plays defense, DeJean and Bond are more valuable to the Eagles than any other team would be in the league. I think if Cooper's put on any other team, he does not perform as well. He's not the highest graded PFF. He doesn't have a pick 6 in the Super Bowl on his birthday. I don't think DeJean pans out as well. Granted, he's a fantastic player. He can hit like a truck, is excellent in pass coverage, and clearly one of the top athletes in the league. So I'm not going to bust on you for this pick here, but I do think that he is. I think he's more 80% Coop instead of the 100% we saw with the Eagles.
Well, yeah. I mean, the other option was Braden Fisk.
Right.
So I'm not really looking to shore up the trenches here. I mean, they get Mims. They get another bookend tackle. I could also do that, but I'm fine with receivers. Burrow has plenty to get done, but dude, that defense wins championships. And the Bengals proved that to us this year.
Yep. I am up with the LA Rams. Let me write Cooper in this list so we have an updated rundown. The Rams originally took Jared Verse here, and they later took Braden Fisk in another round. What was it, the third? I want to say second.
I think it was second.
Yeah, it was
second.
Day 2. That's all that matters. But that's how they rebuilt their line. So with Jared Verse is gone, Braden Fisk is still on the board. I'm not going to take Braden Fisk here, and hear me out. I do think that Braden Fisk had an excellent season, and he's a good player, very talented. What I think made him good was playing off of Verse and off of Byron Young. I think outside of the Rams system, he, like Cooper DeJean, would not have as dominant of a season. The Rams also need edge help. So I'm going to take Dallas Turner, who I had as one of my best players going into this class, and the Vikings took him originally at 17, and I just think they need an edge rusher. So my options are Latu. Ooh. I convinced myself.
Oh, don't change on me now, dude.
No. I'm
I just put it into my mock draft.
Okay, fine.
Oh.
Dallas Turner. Turner's locked. I would take Turner, but I think the picks are between Latu and Turner. And I think looking back on it, Latu makes more sense because he plays a more Jared Verse-esque game. He's more powerful than Turner is bendy and quick. But the pick is in.
Tyler, you have one option here, and if you don't go wide receiver, we might have some problems.
Because I was looking at this to try and prep my pick of what I wanted to do. It's definitely receiver. Now the question is, what kind of receiver? Because
it has to be.
Well,
no.
I think it does though, because George Pickens is the deep threat already on this team. So as much as I love Brian Thomas Jr., that's a little redundant. And I think Ladd can fill the man coverage beating role. You still have the one-on-ones with Pickens, deep ball, and let Ladd work a little bit more underneath. So just fit-wise, I think he makes a little more sense. But it's between him, BTJ, and Rome Odunze for sure. And I'm going to go Ladd.
Yeah. I think they're crazy how we have those three receivers available, and I would take all of them in the first 3 rounds of fantasy next year. Okay. Maybe not Rome, but I would take Ladd and Brian Thomas both in the first 3 rounds of fantasy.
Yeah, we're not a fantasy podcast, but fantasy advice. I think Rome's coming back in a big way this next year. The offense will be better. Caleb will be better.
Do you think
Keenan Allen's gone?
Where's he?
And Ben Johnson is not going to give the same amount of targets to Cole Kmet as he's going to Rome Odunze. Shout out Shane Waldron.
My argument for that is Sam Laporta. I would say Sam Laporta got a lot of targets. That said, you know what? No, we're not.
Yeah, dude, he's Sam Laporta.
We can't fully get into this.
Cole Kmet.
We can't fully.
If Sam Laporta was on the Bears, I'd give him a lot of targets too.
If
Cole Kmet's on the Bears.
If Keenan is gone, I say spend a flyer on Odunze. If Keenan does not come back, or Keenan does come back, I think Odunze's value is still really low. And
fair. Well, yeah, I would agree. If Keenan's back, that's tough. I feel like they're not.
He's an unrestricted free agent. I don't think it's wise for them to.
No way.
If I were them, I'd put DJ Moore, Rome, and then Cole Kmet, and then draft a receiver in like the 5th round and call it a day.
Yeah, take a flyer. Why not?
Yeah. All right, who's up?
Me.
Dolphin.
Yeah, Ryan.
This one's fun.
Yeah. So the problem I have with this is I feel like the Dolphins keep investing into offensive line, and it just doesn't work out. And I have to go offensive line with this pick. So
how much does Tyreek Hill maybe leaving at this point factor in for you?
He won't leave. If Tua was able to stay on the field the entire season, I think Dolphins might have had a much better chance at playoffs.
Yeah.
I just don't know guard or tackle. I mean, Cooper Beebe is right there. JPJ is there. I think I have to go best player available and pick.
There's also Dominic Pooney, the 3rd rounder who was the highest graded rookie guard this year, according to PFF.
Yeah, I do agree with you, Ryan. Well, or unless you're changing, but if you're going Latham here, I'm with you.
I think I have to. I mean,
I think he's a good pick. He's a good player.
Concussions alone, you got to have something protecting Tua. I would love to go pass catcher. I agree with you, Tyler. That is not a fun scenario to be thinking about now with all that information. I don't think Tyreek leaves, but yes, they do need someone behind Waddle if Tyreek does leave.
I'm just realizing the Jacksonville Jaguars are going to be able to draft BTJ.
Brian Thomas.
That's crazy. Good for them. So I have the Eagles, which, again, not intentional. That said, the Eagles only won this year because of the new additions they were able to bring in Zach Bond, Vic Fangio, Cooper DeJean, Quinion Mitchell. DeJean and Mitchell are gone. They're off the board. DeJean went as high as – where'd he go? I don't even know. Well, Quinion went really high, and then where did DeJean go? I have him.
DeJean was 18. Quinion was 13. 14.
Nate Wiggins right here.
So that's the question. It's
quite
corner.
Good.
It's got to be corner. The options I really have are Nate Wiggins for Baltimore, and then who's the other one I just had? I think it's Drew
Arnold
Phillips.
might slip.
Andrew Phillips for
Mike
the
Sainris
Giants.
still
Mike Sandrin still or Terry
fill
Arnold.
the slot corner role.
So-
who also
Lassiter.
can play outside. Lassiter, that's good. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's fair.
there's options here, right? But none of them are going to be as good as Quinyon or Cooper, which sucks if you're the Eagles. And does that really affect your Super Bowl run? Probably.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely. It does. So there's also one non-corner name I want to discuss, and that's Edgerrin Cooper, who I think had a really dominant season at linebacker and could be the third guy behind Dean and Bond. And we saw Dean get hurt in the stretch. And what if that linebacker core was Zach Bond and Edgerrin Cooper with Dean on the sidelines instead of Oren Burks? It's a thought experiment. That said, it's got to be corner. Who would you guys take? Ryan, give me one name. Tyler, give me one name, and I will figure out if I listen to you.
I would take Nate Wiggins.
Nate Wiggins? Tyler?
Sainris still, baby. That's been my guy for however long. And then he's versatile enough to where you can move him slot outside and do a little more with what you want.
I hear you. I do. So I think the other name I'm really considering here is Terry Arnold, who I had 11 overall on my big board, and I think matches that Vic Fangio defense where he is physical. I don't think he's good enough in coverage, though. So I'm going to take Sainer still because I think he fits the slot corner that Cooper DeJean did. He's not Cooper. He's not going to play like Cooper, but he is going to try and fit that role to the best of his ability. And I don't like it, but you got to do what you got to do. It's ugly. If Cooper DeJean and Quinyon Mitchell were gone at this pick, I'm really curious to see how he would have done with it in the actual draft. Because corner was such a need, and somehow he fixed it with 2 picks.
This is Minnesota, or no? They traded up. So it's the
Jacksonville
Jaguars here. Yeah. Okay.
Jaguars.
And
Oh,
BTJ is
man.
available.
Yeah. I mean, I think it does have to be BTJ, right? But the only other thing is their O line is bad,
Garbage.
and also their defense is bad.
It's a bad
and so
team.
Brian Thomas Jr. was really cool, but man, did they not play well on defense? So now you got me thinking of Lassiter. Give Tyson Campbell a running mate. And can you just sustain Christian Kirk and Evan Ingram one more year?
I mean, Trevor Lawrence is also out. You're not competing this year.
Well, and I was gonna say, and here's my thing. What can I get at 5 right now in this upcoming draft, this 2025 draft? I can get a corner easier than I think I can get a top receiver. So with that in mind, I will retake Brian Thomas Jr. for the Jacksonville Jaguars.
How many retakes is that for you, Ty?
That's 4.
It's a
It is
record.
4. Well, but dude, I would defend all these picks for sure as
for
being
good
what
reason.
they should have done.
Ryan, the Detroit Lions. I think it's fun looking at like teams who had success this year. This redraft process is like it's easier when you're looking at a team. Okay, yeah, it was the Bears. The Bears sucked. Just give them Jaden Daniels; they'll get better. Or when you're looking at a team like the Jets sucked. Just give them Olu again. Maybe it works. But then when you're getting into teams who had real success, like the Eagles, like the Lions, who can you give them that will automatically give them that same successes? And can you, like Ryan with this pick, give the Lions somebody that fixed the issue where they got eliminated by the Commanders? Because Terry Arnold wasn't it.
I mean, there are a few ways I want to go. Braden Fisk is the first option. I think that Detroit D line is ruthless. They don't really need Braden Fisk.
They just got racked with injuries.
Yeah. They could go offensive line. They could still go corner.
Have you considered Latu and Cooper at edge?
I'm
and
looking
linebacker?
at Latu. I think Latu is the pick. Just with the injuries alone, you have to. It got so depleted. Defeated
and depleted.
Yeah, at the end of the season, you have to. I mean, again, Latu didn't have the greatest rookie season ever, but he was a leader on that Indy defense. It really looked like they had the soul sucked out of them, and it looked like he stepped up. So someone along that defensive line really needed to this season, and they just didn't. I mean, you saw against the Commanders, they got no push.
I like that team. I like that pick. I think if Latu, knowing the Lions luck, Latu would have also gotten hurt. But assuming he doesn't, I think it's a good pick. I have the Packers here. I'm just going to take Edgerrin Cooper, who they
Fair
took
enough.
in the third round. I always forget. I get day 2 and 3 mixed up. But I'm just going to, the guy that they took, who they turned into a defensive rookie of the year candidate, who had a fantastic end of his season, was clearly one of the leaders on this defense. I'm just going to take him in the first round instead of Jordan Morgan.
Fair enough. I have 2 guys here that I'm looking at for the Tampa Bay Bucks. My Tampa Bay Bucks. This actually worked out pretty well.
Heck yeah,
Good
dude.
spins, Aaron. As I said, with taking Graham Barton this past year, the offensive line went from a below average unit to a top 5 to 7 unit like this. And that is a big reason why the Bucks had one of the best offenses in the league. And without taking an interior offensive lineman, I don't think that they do that. They remain a slightly above average offense. But man, was that defensive line not very good, and secondary too. So I'm going to do a little bit of what I did last pick, where I'm basing this now off of what I think I can get in the 2025 draft. I can get defensive tackles in the 2025 draft.
Oh, dang
Aaron,
it. I was going to guess you took Braden Fisk, but you ruined that for me.
no, that was the guy. Right now, I'm going to take Jackson Powers Johnson out of Oregon,
Ooh.
but it was between him and Fisk. We've talked about and will continue to talk about how good this defensive line class is going to be in this 2025 draft. I think I could pick that out this year easier than I can an interior offensive lineman.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's a good pick. Maybe not the right pick, but you know what? I think it's a good one.
And you got to invest in Baker. At this point, we've given him a $30 million contract. We got to make him successful.
And he continues to succeed. He's a good quarterback, as Ryan has him top 6.
Boys, I'm struggling on this one because
Cards?
Cardinals don't have Marvin Harrison Jr. with this mock. They have Jared Verse, who Aaron took number 4.
Mm-hmm.
So I could go Dunze, but I would also love Bucky Irving.
I was thinking this is either Rome or Fisk in my head.
I mean, you could pair
even
Fisk with Verse again.
Yeah. And even with Verse,
You know
I would
what?
still say
Why
they
the
need
heck
line
not?
help.
Let's do it. That's
Braden-
right.
I love it.
Braden
I think
Fisk.
the universe is realigned. This is correct. This is how it's meant to be.
Oh, Bill's got a Dunze on the board?
I think Bills are going to fall. Well, possibly. The Panthers are still on the clock. And so are the Chiefs, right? And the Chiefs desperately need receiver.
The Chiefs here.
Worthy worked out for them.
Dude, they need offensive line.
I think he's not that good, but that's a discussion for another day.
I think 2 touchdowns in the Super Bowl. I mean, granted, he's just fast. So the real question is, do I take a pass catcher here for the Chiefs, and do I take Rome Odunze, or do I take an offensive lineman and take a guard?
But you got some good ones on the board.
There are some good guards left. I think Fautanu is still on the board, who was a pick by the Steelers at 20, who I had really high. He was injured, but he still is a raw potential at guard.
Bucky Irving?
No.
Kareem Hunt and Pacheco was iffy.
I hear you.
And they need a tackle bad.
They do.
Yeah, you could also blame it on run blocking, but
So you could take a guard, you could take a tackle, you could take a center, but no, you can't. Creed Humphrey's great.
Yeah, he's awesome.
I think tackle's where I'm leaning, because you can take a receiver later, and you can get a guy like Jalen Coker who might succeed. Who I like. I like Coker a lot. Leggett is still on the board, right? So is Rome Odunze. I think maybe he falls to you later. So if I'm the Chiefs, I take a tackle. The question is which one. Morgan is still available. He wasn't taken. Amarius Mims is still available. He wasn't taken. I'm leaning Mims. I don't know if that's...
no, that's right.
Yeah, I think I'm just going to take Mims.
It's either him or Fautanu. So
Fautanu is... That gives me... No, because we saw what happened when you put a guard body against Josh Sweat.
he did have 34-inch arms, though. Shout out Troy Fautanu.
So what would you do? Would you do Fautanu or Mims?
I
Mims
just
feels-
coin flip.
Yeah,
I don't like.
Okay, great.
Tyler's just that guy that it's random fact boy. You could be like, yo, Tyler, how long was Brett Favre's arms? And it'd be like, oh, I know that. He measured in 1990 at 87. Dude, that stop.
God bless me with a great memory. Thank the Lord.
That makes one
You're
of
like,
us.
and his wingspan. What? I'm like,
But also for him, I will say
It made
this was
a
not
difference.
wildly impressive because people thought that he could only be a guard, and so then
Right.
his arm length was really big because then it meant okay, he could play probably.
He showed out
guard
at the
or
Senior Bowl,
tackle.
didn't he? It was him and Fuaga who played really well at the Senior Bowl.
Yes,
Yeah.
I think you're right.
I remember
really
that.
boosted their stock.
Yeah, that was a fun class. Dallas Cowboys took Tyler Guyton. Tyler.
They did. Yeah, and that was to replace Tyron Smith. I think I'm gonna go Roma Dunze here though, because it's
You're not
best
going
player
Bucky
available.
Irving?
Brandon Cooks is your number 2
Wow.
receiver though. You know what I mean? And so I wouldn't hate taking Bucky here for sure. But man, Brandon Cooks is your number 2 receiver, you know?
Yeah.
And as much as I like Jake Ferguson, he ended up being your second pass catcher. He shouldn't be that. And I do just have really high hopes for Rome. Honestly, the reason that I think he lasted this far was more fit and need. I'm ready for a Rome Odunze explosion. He is going to be a wide receiver 1 level type of guy in the NFL. I'm very confident of that. Did this rookie season show it? No, but I don't think most of that was on him.
So that, I think, is our 6th receiver off the board, yeah? No, Worthy. Worthy's still available. Does Worthy make 6 or 7? Worthy makes 6. Worthy makes 6, and Keon Coleman makes 7. So that's 5 receivers off the board. And I'm curious to see, because we got a few picks left to go here. And I'm curious to see what like the Niners and the Panthers and the Bills too, because it could be wide receiver, wide receiver, wide receiver. That said, the Ravens are on the clock. Ryan, I feel like you're just going to take Wiggins again.
Yeah, probably. Probably. What's crazy to me though is we're almost at the ends, and there's still guys I'm contemplating that are like, oh, he really should go first round. So
It's a fantastic class.
It's hard because this class was stacked, like we've said. But yeah, I think Nate Wiggins is the choice here. I think the Ravens really.
Oh, wait, Wiggins over Lassiter? Just
Yes.
quick conversation? Oh,
I think
okay,
the
okay.
Ravens quite literally are one of the only teams that have almost like every single piece they need to win. They just lost this year.
Agreed.
In a bad way.
They were my pick to win the Super Bowl going into the playoffs. I thought they'd win
They
it.
were mine too. So I think run it back. Try again.
I think you can make an argument.
That's all you can do.
You can make an argument for receiver here, I think.
You could. I think Rashad Bateman definitely took a step up this year. Zay Flowers, again, will never be more than a wide receiver 2.
Agreed.
And that you can't as a slot guy.
No.
It's just how it works.
But all the receivers,
sure.
Right? All the receivers left available here: Coleman, Worthy, Leggett, Pearsall.
Yeah, I'd take Wiggins over all of those.
I think so too. That leaves me with the Niners pick. I think so. I'm going to take a receiver. The question is which one. And I liked Leggett in what I saw from him. But that said, I think Ricky Pearsall is just fantastic, and I think he fits the Niners perfectly. I'm just going to take Ricky.
I agree. I'm so glad because I was gonna fight for my boy. Because guys, I don't know if we remember this. He got shot
Yeah.
in the offseason. Came back and played, and then I think it just makes sense that by the end of the season he was playing really, really well.
Mm-hmm.
Like, duh, he was recovering from a gunshot wound and was trying to get up to speed in the NFL. So I'm very excited to see what he can do going forward in off seasons where he's fully healthy.
Yeah, talking about fantasy, because we'll leave fantasy in the past, I promise. I'm curious to see what the Niners come out with next season and what their receiver core is, because right now it's Ayuk, Pearsall, and Debo. Debo is seemingly not going to be there at the end of the season. I think he requested a trade or said that they're working on a trade. I don't remember.
Yes, they phrased it weird. It was like his agent is seeking trade options or something. Whatever you want to take that as.
It's very political, but Debo is probably the crux of the matter is Debo is probably not going to be there, right?
Which and Ayuk is still injured.
Ayuk is still injured. Pearsall could be a real good player in fantasy going forward.
Yep. He's on my dynasty team, so we're hoping so.
You want to trade?
Yeah, Ryan, you want straight up Jaden Daniels for Ricky Pearsall? Who says no?
Didn't I try to get Ricky from you for a while?
No, you try to get Ladd, which
Oh,
I
I
wasn't.
did.
I wasn't giving up Ladd. I'm sorry.
You have both the white boy receivers. Just draft Cooper
Dude,
DeJean while you're at
okay,
it.
this was so funny, guys. When I was drafting my team, it was so bad because at one point, I'm gonna pull it up, which I've made trades, so this is not exact, but at one point, my team was Josh Allen, Brock Purdy, Lad McConkey, Trey McBride,
Oh my gosh.
Zach Ertz. Who else? Ricky, because at that point he hadn't gotten injured yet. Ben Sinnott. Like my team was almost all white dudes on complete accident. And so I have Will Shipley also still, just in case Saquon gets hurt. But yeah, a lot of white guys on accident on Tyler Hill's dynasty team.
Man, I can't. I fell to 3 in this year's rookie draft, dude. I'm ticked because I
Yeah.
wanted my pick of Genty or McMillan. Now
I was gonna say, you almost kind of want to be in the 5 back range for this draft, just because it's not super elite, but more deep. Anyway,
Hey,
we can
I
get
got
back.
plenty of guys if you're looking for some pieces.
We can talk. We can talk, Ryan. I was actually going to text you just to see what you were feeling.
I put Jane Daniels and Lamar Jackson on the board for those that are interested.
I
Yeah,
don't
you
have enough to
did.
trade.
I know you don't.
We're we're in
Oh, which
rebuild.
also, I wanted to see if you wanted to get. Okay, we shouldn't be doing this on the podcast. Puka, though.
You can
Thoughts?
cut it.
Anyway,
No, we're keeping that.
Leave it.
It's staying.
thoughts, Puka? No. Okay, so I have the Panthers at 32. I was not as impressed with Xavier Legette this year.
Where are you on him? Like, what would you spend if you saw this rookie season? Say we're doing a redraft that's 7 rounds. What round pick would you spend on Xavier Legette? Where would you take him?
Yeah, I think he would still probably fall somewhere in the second round, just because even coming out, we knew, hey, this guy's a little more raw
Right.
than some of the players that he's getting taken around. So I do still think there's potential there, and
I would take
I'm
him
excited
later
to
in the
see.
second round.
Yeah. So I don't think he would fall massively, but
That's great because
probably
he's
not
on
gonna
my
get him
he's
here.
on my he's on my fantasy team, so I need y'all to say good things about him.
Please. He's good, right? Please. Man, and so I'm looking here. The Panthers had the worst defense in the NFL. Statistically, if you watched it, like bad defense. So I'm looking at who's left. I really like Johnny Newton, guys. He was one of my favorite players in last year's draft. I think he played very good. There's some edge guys left, but ultimately, I think I am going to take Kamari Lassiter, corner from Georgia. He just looked so good this year on the other side of Derek Stingley. Physical press corner, really instinctual, great playoff game against the Chargers. The way he tracks the ball is awesome. We saw it on that pick against Quentin Johnson and Justin Herbert. So going to try and give the Carolina Panthers some defensive help here, especially if I do end up trading J.C. Horn, because he's not exactly on my timeline right now. Kamari Lassiter, corner out of Georgia.
Dude, you quite literally stole my pick.
Yeah, he would have been a good Bills guy for sure.
Oh, dang it. Okay. So, well, if Lassiter is going to the Panthers, that leaves me without Keon Coleman. Because
You
I'm
hate him.
going with
Keon Love.
Xavier Worthy. Aaron would beg to differ, but
What?
I
I
would
think
put
this is the right pick.
I would put Keon Coleman on the same level with Xavier Legette
Yeah,
as of right now.
That's the thing. I have a thing for using words correctly. I don't like using elite or greatness or I'm trying to be very precise in what I say because the word elite and the word generational carry weight. I think the word bust does as well, especially when you're talking about young players. I'm not going to quantify or qualify Keon Coleman or Xavier Legette as busts yet. They came into this league and we're like, okay, they're raw. That's what we knew. We knew that going in. Calm down. Don't spend 33 on Keon Coleman. I agree, but calm down. Give him a second. Gracious.
I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Because the Bills, defensively they weren't great. Like they could
You
be
could go
deep.
defense. I would have gone corner, but I
Right,
didn't like any of
exactly.
the corners right here. So
I was just about to say that. Right, is that corners in need, but not really a guy left that I think would fill that
Is
that role
Banks?
very well.
Is Deontay Banks a rookie?
No,
No,
he
second
was,
year.
Yeah, Yeah, because even like one guy we didn't talk about, but probably should have been talked about more is Devondre Sweat.
Yeah.
But they didn't really, nor they don't use, nor did they really need this massive run stopping guy.
Right.
Devondre
So yeah,
Sweat went
38
5 picks
last
later.
year. Yeah.
So not far off. But
Yeah.
yeah.
So
Remember
I
him-
think it's the right pick there. Get a weapon.
If you're looking
Even
at
if I'm not a
Buffalo,
big worthy guy.
I'm trying to find Buffalo's draft from last season, but nobody makes it easy to find things as soon as you get into next draft season. It's brutal, dude.
If we went
I
one more
got you. I got
pick
the stat head.
to the Chargers, I think Bucky Irving might go.
I hate
I
that.
think you would have too.
Or maybe even to
Lad's
Washington
not
2
there.
picks later.
Yeah.
Love it as well.
Yeah. So
That's the only glaring guy that we left off the list,
Irving?
I think.
Bucky was
Yeah.
really good. I think there's a few like sleepers on every team that like had some sparks later in the season. J.L.X. Hunt for the Eagles, who got I think at least pressure in the Super Bowl, which is a massive deal. Good for him. I think that there's a bunch of talented rookies. We talked about it. It's one of the best rookie classes we've ever seen.
Yeah, Cooper Beebe.
Yeah.
Roger Rosengarten is up there.
He was another guy that wouldn't have lasted long for sure. Played
Yeah.
good for the Ravens this year.
Trey Benson, Devondre Sweat, Blake Corum, Spencer Rattler.
Well, now you're just throwing names at the wall. Seeing what sticks.
Buddy.
Javon Bullard played pretty solid for the Packers. So did what's his name? Evan something. He was a safety from Oregon last year who played pretty well too.
I know Cameron Kitchens.
From Miami.
Yeah. Went to the Rams.
Pooney.
I think Jonathan Brooks.
Aaron, you mentioned it. Dominic Pooney would have probably
Yeah.
gone off pretty quickly here too.
Yeah, but like a lot of these guys are first or second rounders. I don't think that's what's crazy about this class. Yes, it may be historic, but it's not crazy. We have yet to see a Puka Nacua. We've yet to see a Tom Brady emerge from some of the later rounds. They're all first, second, third round guys that just show that they have it.
What are your guys' thoughts on Jalen McMillan? Would he have been
He
pretty close
exists.
to right here? Like honestly, never mind. I'm not going to say that. But
He's a
No, say it,
touchdown
say it.
machine, but I don't know about the rest of the boxes.
Javon Bullard had a good year, didn't he, for the Packers?
yeah, that's what I said. Him
decent,
and Evan
yeah.
Williams,
Yeah,
Tyke
okay.
Smith actually for the Bucks. He ended up playing that slot role for us. He played pretty well. I'm trying to think because I'm in the 5th round now. I mean, Trotter's a special teams guy.
He is a special teamer.
Oh, Tyron Tracy. He would have definitely gone in the 2nd round, I think.
Second round.
He played
Nothing
good.
more than that, though.
But he's a running back, and so
But
running
he's from
back.
the 5th round. I mean, that's a pretty big jump. Good for him. I'm trying to. Yeah, because Kamani Vidal, I was excited, but he didn't really get to play.
I'm excited to see what happens when John Baptiste for the Commanders. He was a starter, wasn't he?
Yes.
Yeah, he's a 7th rounder.
Well, yeah, look at him. Oh, Jordan Whittington, Ryan's guy.
Jaheim Bell for the Patriots.
Did he
Mark
play at
my
all?
words, Devontae
He's on the team.
Walker will pop off for the Ravens this next season.
Ooh. You are on. I will not be with you on that island.
Yeah, good luck, buddy.
I hope he does because, he had a rough thing in college, not being able to play for a little bit. But whew.
Yeah, that
Dijon
portal thing
Anthony.
screwed him over.
Yeah, it did. Dijon Anthony, 7th round pick for the Bengals. Shout out former Flame.
I thought that's who that was.
Yep. Matt Lee's a guy I liked. The 7th round center out of Miami. Highest graded pass blocker though in his class.
Wow.
So he.
Now we're just naming guys, and we're just doing that thing where guys just sit around naming people, and I'm sure it's really
riveting
gripping
podcasting. Yeah.
gripping
So
entertainment.
yeah, well, I was just trying to go through who would be kind of some of the honorable mentions next up, but yeah, I think the biggest ones, Devondre Sweat is coming off pretty quick. I think.
Joe
Irving.
Milton.
Let's
He
have
takes
a,
the flyer.
I mean, who does
That'll
take
be
a
a
flyer
fun
on John Milton?
conversation one day.
Probably the Raiders.
Dude, don't even throw that out there because you know they will.
They'll
They would
trade for
so
him.
take. I was gonna say they're top of the trade list.
Speaking of
Devon
trades.
Vele.
Does either of you guys
from
want to just
Denver.
give me somebody good in Dynasty for nothing?
for nothing. Yeah, I think that's probably what I want to do for my team's success.
Yeah, that helps me long term.
Well, I need to help myself long term because I'm looking at my roster and it's making me sick to my stomach.
Dude, if you hit on picks,
Yeah, I know.
you win. I hit on Jaden Daniels and it
So I got to
pretty
put
much
my
won
money.
me the league.
Got to put my money where my mouth is and draft Luther Burden at 1-3 and hope that he is uber successful. Because realistically, at 1-1, it's going to be Genty. At 1-2, it's going to be Ted McMillan, probably. And then 3 is Luther Burden, unless I want to take Travis Hunter. But that's a recipe for disaster. Whoever takes Travis Hunter is gambling with that pick.
I think Travis Hunter will go probably like 7 or 8.
Right. Sleeper has him as the third best.
Dude, we should get into dynasty stuff soon.
We should. Well, that's going to be a full issue. I think.
Well, I was gonna say we should have like full dynasty episode probably
We'll get there.
at some point. Yeah.
We should wrap this show definitely though. At this point, we're just
Also.
talking. Thank you all for listening. We'll be back Monday I forget what we're doing Monday, but it's going to be a good show. So thank you all. Come join us. If you're listening on YouTube, check us out on Spotify or Instagram and TikTok. If you are listening on Spotify, check us out on YouTube. We got the full videos. You can just look at our beautiful faces and also Ryan's. Thank you all for joining and mind the gap on your way out.